right. Uh, so we're doing a live show. Um, we're going to be reviewing Bad Batch Episode 5, Rampage. So that'll be cool. If you guys... I'm really excited to be going over this with you guys today, actually. I thought this episode is really cool. Just kind of a different vibe, honestly, from some other stuff that we've seen. And we'll definitely get into talking about that. Before we get too far into it, though, make sure to subscribe because that's a pretty big deal to us. And like the video because it doesn't hurt, let's be honest. Do that. And if you're watching this after, go look in the chat. You'll probably have an idea of what we're talking about. And go check out our Instagram, Starfire Podcast. We'll kind of be updating everything on there as to what we're doing in the future. So check that out. We can probably just jump right into it as to everything that happened. Maybe your guys' opening thoughts on if you liked the episode, maybe a rating if you want. I definitely like when we give it kind of a solid rating at the beginning. So Ryan, let's start with you. What are your thoughts?
Sure. Yeah, I liked the episode. I thought it was good pacing wise. I thought we got a little more story development when it comes to backstory and interconnecting it to the entire universe. I say rating wise, probably like a 4 out of 5. It was a pretty good episode. We'll talk about a little bit more about it, but I wish they would have kind of had a little more the goings on in the background of the storyline. But I think it kind of pushed the story a little bit, but could have been a little bit more. But in general, probably like a 4 out of 5 for an episode.
Solid. Alex, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so far I've been enjoying this season and everything that it has coming its way, especially with the whole Clone Wars aspect of it. And so seeing this episode, like Ryan was saying, how it has some backstory to it and adding some lore, which we'll go into. But so far for me, I'd say I applaud this show, so I give it a 5 out of 5. And with everything entailing with the backstory and the lore part of it too, oh man, that we were watching and me and my wife we were all ecstatic at the end of what happened. So yeah, 5 out of 5 for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5 is kind of where I'm at right now too. It wasn't a bad episode like at all. It was definitely like slower, like it's one of those episodes, and when you have a series this big, right, it's going to be like that where you have episodes that aren't going to push the story as much, but they definitely still have value in the overall scheme of things. So we found some new stuff kind of in this episode that's kind of important, leads us to speculate a bit more, which I think is cool, and got to meet some new characters. So we can kind of just jump right into it. I'll give a final 5 out of 5. I thought it was solid.
Nice.
So this episode 25 minutes long. It's probably gonna be the average Bad Batch episode. This is kind of like Clone Wars, So it opens up with us arriving on a planet called Ord Mantell, and super cool planet, super unique. And they land on this planet because now that they know that there's a bounty hunter after them, which we know is Fennec. They are looking for more answers as to who this is and why they're after Omega. So Echo suggests that they go look for this Republic. It's kind of just a Republic. I can't even think of the word right now, but just a helper, and this girl
like an informant.
Informant. Yeah, there you go. And so they're looking for this informant and named Sid, and they know that the Jedi have had communications. Echo hasn't met this person before, and so they're kind of going to this bar looking for Sid. They know that they're there, so they're kind of cluelessly wondering where Sid's at, and Omega just instantly locks onto Sid. This Trandoshan said that they weren't Sid and they didn't know who it was, but Omega still kind of knew. And so I don't know. It kind of leads us. I think this gives us some more space to kind of speculate on this scene. or maybe Omega's abilities going forward. There's definitely been talks about if she is force sensitive or not. Um, but I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts? Alex, maybe your thoughts on the scene or what this could mean?
Yeah, I mean, for starters, it's kind of like I think we're all kind of used to how things work in this galaxy, especially with the Mandalorian, how to
Yeah.
get information with money, credits, and stuff like that. And so when the clone troopers, who are just war troopers, and they don't know really how to communicate with the galaxy, Omega's like quick, very observant, and very
Yeah.
like cognizant of what's going on around her. So with that aspect, I mean, she's able to like we've seen her fire weapons with good accuracy, things, all these abilities. And so, as far as who she, being a clone for me, being a clone from what we've seen so far, her abilities, I mean, I have to assume that there's something important about who she was a clone from. I mean, we're all obviously all speculating she's a clone like the rest of them from who like Jango Fett, but I think there's more to it than that because yeah, she has like if she's also a what do you call it the one of the bad batch bad clone
Yeah, like
troopers who developed
like mutated. Yeah.
right, then that would make sense. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. But I feel like the way that they have her set up so far, it seems like there's more to it than what meets the eye when it comes to that part. So that's what I had to say about that.
Yeah.
About her
Sure.
does, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Ryan, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree. I think that with the cloning of things, I don't know what they're going to have her be some sort of force sensitive or what her power is going to be in the group. But it does seem to be some sort of intuitive nature where she's able to catch on to things or pick up things quickly. So I'm not sure how they're going to develop that, but definitely something in that realm of things. Um, because we saw how quickly she identified while everyone else said, okay, Sid's not here, we got to figure out where they are instead. And so but she clued in immediately on no, this is the person that we're talking to. So I definitely think they're going to do something more with that and develop that skill.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of ways to kind of look at this, whether it's just a fresh set of eyes on these situations that they're coming across, or but she has had a lot of just lucky guesses or random things that have come up in the series. So I definitely think it will play somewhat into whatever her abilities are. There's talks about her being force sensitive. I'm not a complete believer in that. I don't really think it's in the Kaminoans' like interest to make a force sensitive. That's more of a Palpatine thing to do. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what her powers are, whether it's like some sort of foresight or something. But yeah, I think it was a cool scene. We got to meet Sid finally.
I like what Jake says in the comments. Do you think
Yeah,
she's a
for sure.
mix of all the other Bad Batch? Like that's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are your guys'
Like an
thoughts on this?
like being Omega named Omega, like the
Yeah,
alpha of
yeah,
all the clone troopers. Yeah, that could be a
Yeah.
good thought. I mean, it's like it's right in the plate is in there. It's like we're giving you the answer, but you guys are overthinking it too much, maybe.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
for sure.
spoiler for later in the episode is she picks up a weapon that they don't really talk about too
That's
much. So
true.
maybe
Yeah,
that'll come into effect in the next episode. I don't know.
yeah. For being a kid, she knows a lot and is definitely interesting. So yeah, I definitely think there's something to that, Jake. Yeah, good question. Um, so from here, I don't know. What do you guys think about this Sid character? We kind of just talked about her now in a way. Looking at this episode, what are your guys' thoughts on her? I thought definitely a mysterious character, and you kind of get a lot of different vibes from her. But Ryan, what were your thoughts by chance?
Yeah, I thought that too. It was obvious that she was avoiding having anyone know who she was by saying that she didn't know where she was at, and so obviously trying to stay kind of off the radar a little bit. And then we see that in the interactions between her and her boss is that she's trying to not get too involved and know too much. We see later on that she kind of doesn't really know all the answers that they're looking for, but she seems to kind of have the connections uh, that can be helpful for others. So, kind of
Yeah, for
trying to
sure.
keep it on the down low.
Yeah, I agree. Alex, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think for me though, it's like it reminds me, and I'll relate it back kind of periodically that the Mandalorian has impacted our how we see the universe now, and going through all these different vendors and different people that we've talked to, these back characters to kind of
Yeah.
add more to the galaxy. So I feel like she's one of those characters who, like we've seen, like in the Mandalorian, we have the woman who takes care of Grogu, and who we have, you know, the other little side vendors who become important later in the story. I
Yeah.
feel like she might be somebody who maybe the clone troopers will come back for, you know, for intel. But I think it's that same kind of vibe that you get with the Mandalorian, that somebody who they can rely on for information. Because obviously she was there for the Jedi, and if you know, obviously they see how well they are, you know, doing their job for her, and they're not a part of the Empire, and so maybe that'll give them a sense of trust to work for her later down the road.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. I think she'll be a good part in this series, whether like the Bad Batch needs money, and I think they'll have episodes where they'll just need to do some missions, and I think we'll definitely see her going forward, whether it's in this season or if they do a season after.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think she'll be important.
Yeah, and two, if she was a Jedi informant, Order 66 just happened like 3-4 episodes ago, so she might be trying to stay under the radar because she was helping the Jedi, and they might be after her for information on where they're at or in hiding or anything.
Yeah, and it's honestly one of my favorite parts of the series is kind of just seeing like the normal view of everything that's going on. You know, like we have the Zygerians that are like happy that this happened because they don't have any order that they have to follow right now. And then you have Sid over here who's just like trying to stay low for now because, you know, who knows what's going to happen. Yeah, I thought it was really cool kind of just meeting this character, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more of her, kind of like what you're saying, Alex, about Mandalorian and how it set this precedent. Like kind of like an RPG game, you know, where there's just these characters that you have to interact with, and they serve a purpose to some extent. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. So they kind of they get to talking, and they kind of figure out that they don't know much about this bounty hunter. They don't know that it's Fennec Shen. We know it is. They don't. Sid doesn't know, but Sid reveals that she can find out who this is, but on a condition that they have to go and free a slave, a kid named Moochie from the Zygerians. All right. And after they do that, then they'll receive the info they want on this bounty hunter. So they're kind of just discussing this and trying to figure out what her deal is, and so eventually they start going on their way, and this was probably a very important part of this episode in my opinion. We get to see Wrecker kind of dealing with his head issue again. We haven't seen it in a couple of episodes, but it's definitely important because I think it'll play a big part. And so probably we know it's kind of having to do with the chip to some instance. He's taken a lot of head trauma this series. So I don't know, any thoughts on after seeing this, because they kind of dropped it for a few episodes, and I know that's been one critique of ours is how they haven't really done anything with this. So now that they kind of mention it again, do you guys have any thoughts on what's going to happen next, revolving, you know, all of this? Alex, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, like I feel like they wouldn't have made it apparent that his head hurts without a reason, and so when you see that all the times he's had, you know, his head, you know, hit by random objects, yeah, you can think one simple answer, but yeah, we all know the chips in all of their heads, really, and so based off that, I honestly think that maybe there could be a good plot where all of them, or maybe just Wrecker, we won't know yet, but maybe it could be a point where they would also turn, or they might have an issue down the road with somebody else or another Jedi that they might face. So it leaves so many things open. We still have so many episodes to go. That's a good like mini plot point maybe to bring up, or it could be a very big plot point for all the characters in Bad Batch, because obviously We know that they don't last. So what is going to be the pivotal moment for them in this story?
Yeah,
And that would, I think that would be a good way to bring that out.
for sure. And this kind of goes into a question that Jake was asking, and while we're on it, is Wrecker going to change into following Order 66, and do we think he'll survive? I definitely think it's leading towards that. And Ryan, maybe your thoughts on this. The whole survives thing is kind of difficult to figure out. But I definitely think it'll play some part in, especially Crosshair, who's definitely under this influence. But Ryan, what do you think is going to happen with him?
Yeah, with Jake's answer there being about Wrecker being in Order 66, that might be. Jake also mentioned it in the chat that it would be heartbreaking to see him change and then he get killed. And so I don't know if maybe. I mean, they have 16 episodes this season. We're only in episode 5. They have plenty of time to bring that up and have the story continue and have a resolution in the end. So that might be something that they're leaning towards. I thought after last week's episode that they were going to drop the whole head injury issue because we didn't see any more of it. And then when they said it this time, it was like, okay, no, that obviously is something. It's not just something that we were thinking would happen, but no, that's obviously a story point. So that sounds like that might be the way they're leaning towards this, to make it where he turns on Order 66.
Yeah, I definitely think it's leading to that. The fact that they kind of dropped it for 2 episodes and now they're back to it, I definitely think means that's going to be important going forward. And so I think it'll kind of be interesting to see that dynamic between them after that. But also, I think it might force them to go find Rex, because he's obviously like good because he found Cut, and they're all chill. But I also think it's going to lead to them trying to get Crosshair back. So yeah, I think that's good, some good points on that, and I definitely think it's going to be a big part, probably going into the next few episodes. I think it's going to be brought up more. So yeah, they finally get on their way. They start heading to where they know these slaves are. We've seen Zygerians before. They've been brought up in Clone Wars. And I don't know how much you guys remember about them, but Anakin hates these guys like big time. They're like they're slavers, but they're like at the top of it. Like they literally like run all the the slave routes and all that. So some real messed up people. And so they're kind of just going to free Moochie right now. And yeah, so they arrive at their destination, and they're kind of trying to figure out everything that's going on. And they see these slaves, and they're like, okay, so that's Moochie. We'll go grab that girl and we'll get out. And so they actually send Omega back to the ship before the fight, and so she's kind of checked out here. That'll be important. And they're kind of trying to go slowly and stealthily through it at first, but then eventually a fight erupts between them and the Zygerians and this dragon. I'm not exactly sure which creature this is, but super cool design, and I'm pretty sure we've seen the Zygerians using this before back in the Clone Wars. So super cool design. And yeah, so they eventually, Bad Batch actually gets caught, and they're kind of just out of the fight. And Omega is still back in the ship, and eventually she gets out of the whole situation. She avoids some Zygerians and is on her way to figure out what's happened. So yeah, eventually she gets to where Bad Batch is. They're all kind of chained up, even though they kind of aren't at the same time. Like at one point Wrecker just breaks them out of like all their restraints like it's nothing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm like, what's the point of this? But so Omega helps out, and in the process, Omega actually, out of a cage, unleashes this baby Rancor, and super cool design. I thought, I thought it was just funny to kind of see everything going on, and yeah, I really like this design. We don't usually get to see many Rancors, like ever. So, eventually they figure out that this Rancor, the girl that they thought was Moochie, is not Moochie. That it's actually this Rancor, and so now they have to go and fight the Zagarians and everything, but also get this Rancor, and they're kind of trying to figure out what to do and how they're going to get this Rancor back now, because now it's not just a kid, it's a Rancor, and how they're going to like sell them down. And eventually they take out the Zagarians. There is a cool scene where Omega actually grabs like a bow and kind of going to the point where we think she's more like special than she actually seems to be. So she gets she's kind of more part of the team now. We see her using comms and like actual weaponry and all that. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, kind of going back to Moochie, because this is kind of like a funny, like kind of Easter egg kind of character, or could be an Easter egg character. What do you guys kind of think of Moochie, or like this wrestling scene that happened with Wrecker? I was just kind of curious what you guys thought. Ryan, why don't you go first?
Yeah, it was really nice to see the Rancor in this. It was a nice callback to Return of the Jedi. So I appreciate that they've been kind of doing that throughout this show, is kind of giving calls back and going back to the originals, and
Yeah,
so
for sure.
that was nice to see a couple times in this episode actually. So yeah, that was nice to see, and I'm glad that they incorporated that in the storyline.
Yeah. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I thought that was really cool to see. As soon as we saw whatever was inside that little cage, and I was like, I think that's the actual kid, because they're all calling to that little green child, Moochie, we're gonna save you, and they're like looking at them, they're like, what? And then you see the little baby Rancor, and I'm like, that's the one. And so we're gonna get into it later, and spoilers, Jake, because I know you just said I haven't seen the episode yet, but spoilers. I think it's like when anybody who can like put two and two together, you're thinking, okay, wait, what is this leading up to, or what is this? What is this the backstory what we're talking about earlier that I was looking forward to? So it was cool to see that. I don't remember in the Clone Wars that they had a Rancor design. If they did, it's been a long time. But to see a little baby one,
I don't think
cool.
we've ever seen a baby Rancor.
Yeah, no baby Rancor at all.
Definitely
Yeah,
not a baby Rancor. I think there were Rancors in Clone Wars, but for like 2 seconds.
Probably.
But
they were always adult. Yeah, they were always
exactly.
adult size. So this is cool, really cool, very agile, really quick. That whole fight was like a whole like King Kong, Godzilla fight.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I like that. That was
sure.
fun.
Yeah, I thought it was really like funny to see this Rancor like hopping around and everything like a monkey or something, like, or like a gorilla. Like you don't think that a Rancor is going to be moving around like that, and they just start hopping all over the place. And I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, mic issues all the time. But yeah, I thought it was really cool to kind of see his character. Yeah, and Ryan kind of touched on it. And do we think this is the Rancor in episode 6 at Jabba's palace? Because we do find out that this is Bib Fortuna is kind of leading. This is where this bounty has come from, where this job has come from. It is from Jabba and Bib, and so it's all kind of interconnected. And every time we think of a Rancor, it kind of goes back to episode 6. So I was kind of curious if you guys definitely thought this was the Rancor from episode 6. Alex, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. At first, for me, yes, just because I don't really, I never like who's gonna look up, what's the name of the Rancor that Jabba kept? Who's gonna look that up? They're just thinking it's Jabba the Hutt's Rancor or whatever. But yeah, as soon as we saw, was it Sid talk to Bib Fortuna? That's like that's my wife's favorite character. She really knows Star Wars, and the only character that she was like all for was Bib Fortuna. And so when she saw like the fat version of him in Mandalorian, she was going nuts. Yeah. But when we saw him with being the leader on this, it was like, what? Here he is. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, now hold on a minute. Where are we in the timeline right now? We just got over Order 66. Mm-hmm. So this is early. So I'm thinking, okay, well then that would make sense. If he's the baby Rancor, then he's establishing this is the origin of Jabba's Rancor. But then I did some digging in it. It's not the same Rancor from what the canon legends brought out, but maybe since then, that was the old George Lucas version. This could be just a redesign, whole brand new, kind of to add some flavor as to putting them into the story. So I would like that. I don't mind. It's just a small character, but it now adds a more like now I'm all like, oh cute, oh Moochie, love her. Crap, Luke Skywalker's gonna kill you. Exactly. But otherwise, I thought that was really cool, and maybe we'll see. I mean, it seems like that's the direction they're going for. Maybe it could be the mother of the Rancor. Who knows? But either way, it was a really cool callback to Episode 6, like you guys are saying. So looking forward to seeing them do more of that of the show.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. And Ryan, kind of your thoughts on that too.
I if you mentioned that they weren't the same one, then let's just stretch it and say yes, it's the mother of it. Then that way, it's nice to have a whole little complete package and say it's all connected and they are the same things, to some extent. So hopefully, we'll just say it's the mother of the one that Luke killed. But yeah, we'll see that this is for Jabba the Hutt, so it's obviously connected, whether it's the same one or the mother of. He obviously likes to have these as pets or some sort of exotic breeder of them or whatever. So it's cool to be able to have it come back to the originals, and nice shout out to it.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool kind of seeing that, and I definitely think there's some sort of connection between it. I don't think it's the exact same one, but I think definitely a mother or some sort of relative is definitely manageable. I think Dave Filoni's really like intricate with this kind of like even just this small stuff. So I don't think it's the exact one. Otherwise, it probably would have been like all brown or something. But I definitely think it's cool. So just to see that, because you don't usually get to see Rancors, especially a baby one. Quick shout out to Dom. We know you're on vacation, dude, but just trying to keep
Dom?
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Hope you're not rolling your eyes. Hopefully we're doing a good enough job for you. But have fun out there, dude. I definitely thought this Mitchie character was kind of cool, but again, you never ever see a baby Rancor. Like I can't think about that. I think even in like comics and stuff like that, it's probably rare too. You just don't usually think about that stuff.
And I appreciate that they kind of flip things around for us mid-episode, where we had an idea of who they were looking for, and then there she is, cool, right there. But then it's like, nope, gotcha, this is the one. So that was kind of nice to have a little bit of a change it up and play around with it.
Yeah, and I liked with Wrecker finally like actually fighting something, because every time he's up, like, here's the big muscle man, and then he gets like knocked out the first punch. I'm like, come on, man, you're supposed to be the strong guy. So it was hilarious to see them just like knocking out each other until they just fall asleep. I was like, that's the way to do it. I thought that was funny.
And this kind of goes into my thing. I think this fight is the final straw for what's going to make him go Order 66 mode, because he got punched in the head like 20 times.
Yeah.
And like last episode, he like got kicked and his head hit like an electric box or something like that. And this episode, he got like punched in the head like 20 times. So I definitely think next episode or the episode after, we're going to kind of see that go into Order 66 mode. That's one of my speculations. But the episodes that he hasn't like been aching at his head like constantly, he's been getting hit in the head constantly. So I think it'll be cool to see. So that they end up finishing their mission. They get Moochie back to bid. It's kind of a sweet moment, you know. We get to see all this happen, and yeah, they're done with their mission. Sid pays them pretty solidly. Goes 70-30 with them, and they get info, so it seems like a win-win. Um, so yeah, we end up finding out that um, Sid takes Hunter aside and explains that it's Fennec Shand, so they know who it is. And they explain that this is a brand new, like a newer bounty hunter, like not crazy well known, but is definitely good. Um, and the employer is unknown. Like it's not through a guild. We didn't really know about guilds beforehand, and kind of going to the whole Mandalorian thing, we know more about bounty hunters now and how they kind of work under a guild. And maybe you guys want to talk about that a bit, but yeah, I thought it was kind of cool just to see like how this works, but it's mentioned that this is a commission, that is not a guild job. So Sid has no clue as to who is the employer, but it kind of leads us to speculate as to who it could be, because I feel like that kind of narrows down the options as to like how it's actually going to work. But yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have you guys had any thoughts on these past couple episodes as to who the employer might be, or what other characters might have a role in this? Ryan, what are your thoughts?
Well, I don't think that the Empire would do it, because the Empire would just come in guns a-blazing and just capture him. Sorry, I got
Like,
fire truck next to
We
me.
got some Hot Wheels.
yeah.
Hot Wheels car. That dude's really cool, by the way. Super cool.
So I don't think the Empire, because they would just come in and get the job. They wouldn't hire a bounty hunter. They would just go take care of it. And so that leads me to go back to what I've kind of thought in the past, and that it's the creators of the clones are going behind the Empire's back, trying to find the Bad Batch and Omega for some sort of purpose. So that's who I think is hired them. And we'll see in the next handful of episodes, hopefully. But that's what my predictions are.
Yeah. Alex, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's tough because even I was. I mean, for me, I wasn't really like focused on that part yet, just because the first time we saw her, I'm like, okay, you're gonna start making me think about this show now. All right, let's think about it. But I was like, no, I'll wait and see what more comes out of it. And just from what we get out of this, like how Ryan said, I don't think it's the Empire. I think it's straight up just not the. Why would the I just don't think it has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
At first glance, for me, when I saw Omega, I'm thinking, okay, you're a Palpatine because you look like one based off of all the concept art, everything like that. But I was like, well, maybe not. So I think, in my opinion, that maybe she could not be working for the Guild. She could not be working for Boba Fett. She could be working for Boba Fett, but however, based off the timeline and how everything is working out, I had to do digging as well on this, and Boba would still be a little young as compared to where he is now in The Mandalorian, because this takes place way beyond, afterwards of Luke Skywalker and everything like that. So she's pretty old then. She's very young now. And so with Darth Maul being part of the clan with all those bad gangs and everything like that in these parts, it could have to do something with that. Some organization that we're going to see. Could be Darth Maul related. Could be because he's still around. Could be Boba Fett related because he's still around.
Yeah.
But the Empire and maybe even the people in Camino, I feel like those are a stretch to me. I feel like it would have to be. I think this is going to be like one of those like, whoa, it's a surprise because she's only after Omega. She's not really after the Bad Batch. And in fact, she tried to fight the Bad Batch. So I feel like it's going to be kind of like a crazy, or it could not be, but it could be a crazy kind of reveal of who she's working for.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm thinking of those two. Yep.
Yeah, my thoughts. I definitely think the Kaminoans have something to do with it, but I also think there's another piece to it, because why would they be going for this like random bounty hunter, like low level, like bounty hunter, like not well known? Like they have the money, they could get like someone crazy. Um, so I do think if the countdowns has something to do with it, there's another like middle piece there, which does kind of get my mind like thinking about Boba because I think Boba's younger, but like Fennec is also pretty young, like relatively young. Like when I think about it, like from Mandalorian to now. So I think I could see Boba possibly being like an ish, like just kind of like the middleman for that, and kind of having her go do his work, which is I think what's going to happen in Book of Boba Fett either way. Um, and so yeah, I don't know, I think it's still kind of hard to tell, but I think knowing that she's not like a well known bounty hunter kind of leads you to believe that there's another piece to the puzzle there. And I'm sure it'll be a big reveal because there's so many cool bounty hunters out there that you could choose from other than Boba, honestly. Um, so, and
I
that
kind of like
goes.
what Jake. I kind of like what Jake asks. Do you guys think Vader will show up at all? That would be a fun
That.
twist.
So yeah, I think that kind of leads into the the main part, and I've heard this a lot, and this is a question that's been kind of going around since Bad Batch started, and I think this would be really cool to talk about. We're pretty much done with our review. That was pretty much it. Um, so, do we think Vader will show up at all? Um, I'll let you guys take it. I'll let you guys take it from there. I'm sure you guys got some speculation on this one. Um, Alex, Ryan, whoever wants to go first. Fight
Go
Go
for
for
it.
go for it, Ryan. Go for it,
Okay,
Ryan.
I'll go for it. I hadn't even thought about that, but I would love that. That's perfect timing because you're right in the middle or the second half of episode 3 after or 66. So the timing's perfect. Um, I think that would be a perfect way to, you're not even expecting that based on the storyline so far. That
Mhm.
could come out of left field, and that would be, I think that would be a fun storyline to bring in.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Alex, what are your thoughts?
I think yeah, I agree. I think that is something that would be like one of those things I want to see. I would want to see more of it, but I think he's one of those characters that it's like you bring him in and do like this crazy just scene that could just like blow everybody's minds in the Clone Wars
A
of
Rogue
all
One scene.
a Rogue One scene or something. I think like if you guys haven't played the Jedi Fallen Order game that came out,
Mm-hmm.
it had a crazy ending, where it was like that was the end game boss, and it pretty much had no ending after that
Yeah,
because he was. I feel like if they were
he
to do
had no
something like
build
that,
up. He had no
ye-
build up.
no, and it just came out of nowhere. I feel like if something like that were to happen, where it's like you find out he was like Darth Vader comes in and is like, enough of this, whatever, blah blah blah, this Bad Batch, and goes after him. Oh man, and then I don't know. I can't wait if they bring him in and do it right. And all praise to Dave Filoni on that. He knows what he's doing. So once he does it, yeah, I think it's going to be out of this world if he does it. I wouldn't say I don't think that he wouldn't do it, but it'd be a good lead up. It would be a good thing to, especially when Obi-Wan series is coming out, to give him a reason to like maybe add some depth to
Yeah,
Darth Vader.
and
Do you think
if
they'll
that
come out with
worked,
a?
I
Oh,
don't know
sorry,
what
what was
you're
that?
saying. What are you saying?
Um, do you know if they're going to have a second season of Bad Batch, or has it not been disclosed yet?
I
I don't
haven't
think it's been disclosed, but
I haven't
because
heard
they don't,
anything.
Disney's been pretty honest with calling it like a limited series. I think like
Mm-hmm.
with WandaVision and like
Yeah.
Falcon Winter Soldier. So I'm guessing it's going to be longer. Also because they don't have any animated stuff like planned right now, besides Bad Batch, and they've always like had something animated going. And I think they stopped doing their um, like Resistance show or whatever they were doing at the time. So I think they're just going to keep Bad Batch going for a bit. I hope so because I love it. Like this
Yeah.
art style, I think is like perfect for Star Wars, and voice acting is insane. Um, do I think we'll see Vader? Heck yeah! Like I think it makes the most sense because that would be the earliest we ever see Vader like in action. Like even with Kenobi, that's like multiple years after. This would be very very early Vader, which I think it would be cool. Um, So yeah, I would love to see it. I think it would make sense. Vader's like entrances in the past were never really built up like at all. Like even in Rebels or something like that, he just showed up. I'm pretty sure. Like he just showed up. In Fallen Order, he just showed up. So I think it'd be cool if he just showed up in Bad Batch, and I think he'll have a big part to kind of play with the ending of it. Um, because I do think Crosshair and if Wrecker goes Order 66, I think they'll both be resolved by the end, and I think they'll need another like villain to kind of mess with them for the finale. So I think it'll be cool to see all that.
Maybe as like a cliffhanger for the season. They might maybe tie up the story arc for this season, and if they are going to do a next season, introduce Vader just to give that cliffhanger to the next season, to make people come back for the next one.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Or yeah, we have a theory from Jake. If and it's Vader instead of Kara, but shows up and Bad Batch end up getting captured and transformed into Order 66 and chipped, and Vader uses them as personal guards. That could be interesting. It's definitely possible.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those it's a rogue theory, as you like to say, Jake.
Well, like, and then I think there was something that I saw like some random meme where they were thinking how the way like what is his name he just said it, the one of the brothers that left, the guy that can snipe.
Oh, Crosshair.
Crosshair, yeah.
Yeah.
There was like a meme like if what if that and how his whole armor looks could be a tie to or a nod to those dark troopers, the
Yeah.
ones where we see in Mandalorian, like are those the clone troopers? Where because they're all in these, they talk all weird. It would be really cool if that was really them. That would be really just a very depressing, but oh so perfect like way to go about doing things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the question: is are they gonna make it a depressing story? Like, okay, Rogue One, spoiler, everyone dies. Like, so are
Yeah.
they gonna make this? Are they gonna make this a depressing season or like a finale of the season, or are they gonna make it like, yay, it's happy, let's go to season 2?
Yeah.
It just depends on
Yeah.
what they how they want to have it end. Whether it's gonna be Vader kills them all or whatever is going to kind of depend on how they want to do the storyline and how they want to progress the story into additional seasons or not.
Right. And also too with that, so far all these episodes have ended like happy, and I've been like, oh, my heart, for like a lot of these like so wholesome moments, you gotta have that dark territory. And I know Dave Filoni is not one to hesitate, so I it could be oof, I think we're gonna see some dark territory soon in this series.
Yeah, I really, I could really, I would really go for that.
Omega has to save them all, says Jake.
I and tagging in here, there will be some big losses. I definitely think so. I definitely think one of the members will probably be gone. Most likely Crosshair, in my opinion. I think he'll kind of have like a redemption arc of some sort. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff they can do, and kind of like what you were saying earlier, Ryan. There's 11 more episodes that they can do, and they can go a lot of different routes with the rest of this season. So I think it'd be cool, and this is kind of what I would think of. And yeah, Jake brought up or Wrecker. I definitely think those two are up for buying the bullet. But yeah, and we'll just go through some comments too. And Don brought up as well. The composers tweet out that they were in tears writing the end music to the show.
Oh no!
Oh no! No!
I think they're out here trying to replicate season 7 Clone Wars.
Yeah, that was emotional.
Yeah, and it's crazy how much they're stretching like this animated like series and how much they can do with it. They've come a long way since when Clone Wars started. So yeah, I definitely think it'll be a big finale. I don't think it'll be like a loose one like in the past. Like with Clone Wars, besides season 7, there weren't really like big finale like finishes to a season. Like it didn't all come together because it was a bunch of mini stories. But that's the thing I like about Bad Batch is it's one complete story, like, and it's in chronological order. so it all kind of ends up in the same spot with the same like effect.
Yeah.
So I definitely think we'll have a deeper ending, and that's why I'm just glad that there's these episodes, because it just builds these characters up. And kind of going back to what we were saying, it's a short 25-minute episode. We didn't really get to see much of like Crosshair, what he's doing right now, but it leads up to stuff like Wrecker going rogue, or like everyone else. So really cool stuff. But yeah, just really happy with this episode, I thought, and maybe our final thoughts on it as to where we think what's going to happen um, going forward into like next week. Um, if you want to go, Alex, as to what you think is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, so far, I think it's really just establishing. Just right now, we're what, episode 5. We have what is it, like 20 episodes at least?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so
I don't remember
13.
how many. Yeah,
So yeah,
16.
13.
I think
No.
16 total.
16 total. Yeah, 16. I mean, we're at a good quarter. No, I would say like a third, or
Yeah, like
I don't
a
know,
third.
but yeah. And so at this point, it's like kind of just now we're getting more like, okay, who Omega, what she can do and things like that. At this point, I feel like we're gonna get to a point now where we're gonna start seeing more what's going on with Crosshair, what the Empire's purpose is, what their core story is about. Because right now it's just an escape show, trying to escape Order 66, trying to escape, the Empire. So sooner or later, it's going to catch up, and how is it going to impact their story? And then how how is it going to end? Is the big question. So I think so far. I think probably the next few episodes, maybe one or two, will get more lore, or maybe more impact of the story. But we're not even at the halfway point, so I don't think they're going to push a lot yet, in my opinion.
It doesn't really need to escalate that much as of right now. And kind of going on to Jake's comment, I think it will be character building for the first half. That it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
It's most likely going to be like that, with like a few nuggets of like actual like strong info. That's usually how it goes. Like kind of how we had the Crosshair like check-ins, So yeah, I think it'll be really cool to see that, and I think it's really reminded me of season 7 of Clone Wars. Like we had those episodes, and kind of mentioned it. We have those episodes leading up, and they're part of the end game. Like there were those random episodes with Ahsoka that led up to Siege of Mandalore and all that. So it's really cool to see all that, and I think it'll be slow for a bit, but we know they can definitely do a good job at escalating it very quickly. Ryan, what are your thoughts on what's going to happen?
I think over the next couple episodes, maybe the next episode, but for sure probably the next one, we're going to get some major story development. Just because for the last couple episodes it's been kind of slower, and just kind of we're getting kind of individual episodes, kind of not really getting a lot of information, or not really advancing the story too far. So I think that there's going to be some major stuff that comes up in the next couple of episodes that are going to be impactful. I think that we're going to start seeing Omega's abilities come out even further. We saw her get the crossbow in this. They didn't really mention it at all. She just had it in, and then we don't see her get rid of it. But we didn't see anyone acknowledge it. So they might just kind of have that show up in the next episode. That's something that she kept. But I think they're going to definitely advance her character further and what she's capable of doing. But I think we're going to get some major storyline changes in the next couple episodes.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of going with that aspect, this is kind of why I'm thinking Crosshair might bite the dust too, because she's kind of like going into that role of his, like picks up this bow that's a long range weapon, and is using his comm like communicator and everything like that. Like I feel like she's kind of like moving into that role.
You've been replaced.
Yeah, he is replaced. But yeah, I definitely think it'll be some good like info going forward. I definitely think next episode we'll probably check in on Crosshair and see what's going on with them, because I do think that's a big part, and we haven't checked on him in a couple of episodes now. So I definitely think that's possible, and probably just the correlation between like him and Wrecker right now is probably going to be going forward, I think is going to be important. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Really cool episode. Enjoyed it. Excited for next week. I don't know if you guys have anything like you want to shout out or anything like that. I definitely think it's, if you guys have anything you want to mention.
No, I think that the next couple episodes are going to be pretty important. I think we're going to get a lot of story moving forward. So I'm looking forward to see what they do, just because the last couple episodes have been a little bit filler. Still good, but a little bit filler episodes. We're just getting a little more story, just a little bit of story development. But I think next ones are going to be really important. I'm not sure if we'll see more of Wrecker and what's going on with him, or what they're kind of. Maybe we might see, because after the next episode we'll be almost halfway done.
Yep.
So we're going to start to see some of the conflicts, I think, start mounting up.
For sure. And maybe our final question for now is, what do we think Crosshair is doing? What do we think he's up to right now? I do think it's a good question to kind of just speculate on it, because we haven't seen him in 2 episodes, right? Or 2 or 3 episodes. So I do think it's kind of interesting just to speculate. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on what he may be doing. Alex, maybe your thoughts.
Probably at this point he's just being experimented on by the Empire, really. What do they get? What is the main, why is, Tarkin using him? And so I think poor Crosshair at this point, he's just being used. And so we're going to probably see what the outcome will be later down the road.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's probably going through his own little arc over there. We saw him kind of contemplating everything going on last time we checked in on him. Ryan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the next episode, it might just be like a side flash to while the Bad Batch has been doing their thing. We might see same timeline. Meanwhile, Crosshair's been, last time we saw him, he was training with those new recruits. Mm-hmm. So we might see them mentioning, hey, like, here's what's going on. Like, we can't find the Bad Batch or whatever. Meanwhile, he's trying to train these recruits to develop their skills further. So that might be what they do next episode, just to kind of get the same timeline at the same time, just to see what he's been doing.
Yeah, for sure. I think that could be really useful, honestly. I think that's a good idea. Because just checking on him, he's definitely a big character of this series, either way you look at it. So I do think that could be useful, or either that or like a whole thing dealing with Wrecker right now. But yeah, I think that's kind of what I think is going to happen too. But yeah, I think that'll be it for now. Thanks, Jake, for tuning in as per usual. Love your questions. Thanks for checking in on us, Dom. And yeah, I had fun with you guys. I'm sure I'll be doing another live show with y'all in the near future.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Enjoy it, man.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for doing this with me. Kind of just gonna shout out again the Instagram. It's on the bottom, Starfire Podcast. And yeah, subscribe, like, please, I beg you. And yeah, just have a good night. And we should, again, I talked about this the other night, I should be coming out with a calendar on the Instagram for next month. Hopefully just to kind of give you guys an idea. We're doing some new stuff, and we'll kind of talk about it a bit more. But yeah, had a good show, guys. So yeah, we'll catch everyone later on the
Sounds good.
Later, everybody. Little Lion, yes, follow me on Twitch. It's right here. It's right this little thing.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. Follow
the Twitch.
Ryan, nice to meet you. Ethan.
Yeah, you too. Good
nice
to see you.
Here with you guys.
All Jake,
right.
Take it easy.
See you guys.
Yeah. See it.